All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Webb, and I am a contributor here at WKYC. I'm joined today by a phenomenal panel of amazing men to discuss a very important topic. So, the number of African American players in the MLB has fallen nearly every year since 1981. And the racial disparities in baseball are felt from little leagues across America all the way to the majors. Cleveland also has a rich history of baseball in the Black community, but a gap still remains between generations that haven't yet been transferred to full involvement in the sport. I'm here today speaking with Wendell Fields, the league commissioner and CEO of Bbuzz Baseball, with Marcus Morrison and Dave Ramnarine, the co-founders of the Inner City Baseball Academy of Greater Cleveland, and with DJ Anderson, a recent graduate from Twinsburg High School and a baseball player here in Cleveland, to discuss baseball in today's Black community. Gentlemen, how are you feeling today?
Outstanding.
Doing well.
Okay.
Doing well.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining me. I think that in order for the people listening to our panel today to kind of understand the context of what we'll be discussing, I think that it will be first beneficial to discuss the history. So I think that this would be a great question for Mr. Fields, Mr. Morrison, Mr. Ramnarine. Could you talk about the history of baseball in the Black community in the nation and in Cleveland?
I'll go first, I guess, because baseball, when I grew up, that's all we did. We were this Lee Harvard area was full of kids, and we played baseball every day. It was something that we did, and we really loved it, and we got into it. And not only that, we gained friendships by it. We would play street versus street. Neighborhood versus neighborhood, and it really gave us an opportunity to get to know one another. And some of those friendships we still carry on today. But it was just a culture of, we didn't need parents, we didn't need an adult to come up there and kind of supervise. We took it upon ourselves to, form teams, play, and actually get along with each other. There was no, of course we had little disagreements about here and there. But it was always flip the bat, and we let the bat decide what happens. So, baseball was really a part of my life, still is, and I just love the game so much. So,
Marcus, you want to go?
Yeah, for me, growing up in a town like Warrensville Heights, it was a small Black community of hardworking people. We played. That was just the thing to do, The parents were supportive. Everybody in our community played baseball. We were lucky to have fathers that all, were in the community that pushed us. They knew the game. And a lot of them played with Bbuzz back then. Some of them played with St. Henry back then. But everybody just enjoyed the time of putting on their uniforms, for the parade and getting ready for the season. And it didn't matter if you were like somebody, what they call the bad kids in the neighborhood. Everybody played baseball. You knew everybody in the city because of baseball. And that was just it. Even we would go over from Warrensville to play Bedford Heights. We would play Maple Heights. We would have a team that would travel around, and they, some of those guys over in those other cities were amazed at how good we were, and, coming from Warrensville. And again, it was basically all African American, and, the fathers taught the game, and they taught it the right way. They taught us not to dog the game. They taught us how to wear our hats, how to, put our pants on right. And, we had belts on, and, so we just respected the game back then.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Chris, Mr. Fields and Marcus talked about the history here in Cleveland, in their neighborhoods. Also, you take it back that he talked about how fathers taught them the game. And that goes way even further back. As I sit here in the shadows of League Park, baseball was our sport. Baseball and boxing was the sport that Black folks really gravitated towards, really supported. This is before the explosion of basketball, and of course football now. But baseball was our sport, and we were good at it. You know, we had the speed, we had the power, we had the strength, and it was a sense of pride in America that everyone could get behind. It's almost like I probably could equate it. I didn't live back then, but this is from everything that I've read, everything that I've seen in the history books, to the Olympics and how we as a nation take pride in our Olympic team, our USA Olympic team. It was almost something like that back then, and it was a way to get yourself on the map, and then that translates to what Marcus and Fields talked about. Thus, you play it in your neighborhood. You know, your fathers pass it down to you. Playing baseball, you know, we played everything. I'm sure these guys know we played everything in our neighborhoods. But the one thing that I can really remember more than anything is us playing baseball. You know, we played football, we played tackle, we played basketball, but baseball was the one thing that I can really remember. It was just a sense of pride in the Black.
Right.
That's amazing. One thing that I think it was Mr. Morrison said that really struck me was the street versus street baseball games. That sounds like an amazing structure that I wish we would have in our streets these days, because I can't see streets doing, you know, kind of productive, competitive sports against one another. And it seems almost as if when certain neighborhood structures and maybe family structures started breaking down, the game of baseball in a lot of Black communities across America seem to have become a casualty of that. Could you all speak of some of the factors that might have removed baseball's popularity from the Black community these days? And DJ, we're going to rope you in real soon, right after this question.
Well, one thing I know, you know, it costs money to play the game nowadays. Everything is running into a racket, I would call it. You have travel teams charging $3,000 for the summer, and you know, you have training is $60 an hour, you know, and that plays in. When the kids hear that or the parents hear that, it throws them off, you know. Kids are playing the game though. They're playing in Mr. Fields' league. They're playing in the Cleveland League. But when they get to a certain age, the kids get stronger and the game changes. And if you don't have the right techniques, you're going to start fading out, you know. You're going to start saying, okay, it's already an unsuccessful game. Right. So at 12, if I'm hitting a home run off somebody throwing 25 miles an hour, and then at 14 and 15, you know, now they're throwing 60 miles an hour and I hold the bat wrong, I'm not going to be that successful. And that's going to take me out the game, you know, and that's why we came about with the Inner City Baseball Academy.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, especially when it comes to finances and the situation of unfortunately, our demographics today. And that's one of the things that Bbuzz has always tried to do is keep it reasonable. We just want to cover the cost. We want to cover the cost of uniforms. We want to cover the cost of equipment. And that's it. We don't try to make money off of it. We're a nonprofit organization. We want to teach the game and all what it entails. And over the years, Chris, you don't know this, but Marcus and I have been really trying to link up. And we just weren't, our league was not, like he mentioned, the skill level. Our T-ball league and our little league are basically the same things, except one has a coach pitch and the other is off a tee. But the skill level is completely below average. Our bigger kids now who have been with us a couple years, if you go watch the big game, I call it the big game, but they're 13 to 15. They understand the game. They're actually playing. They're pitching. They're making the plays and knowing when they mess up and hitting the cutoff man, holding the bat correctly and things like that. And so we want to continue to build the little leagues up so that eventually they can join, come on and get some tutelage from Inner City Baseball Academy so they can get those skills. Because I'm sure, DJ, I don't know you, it's the first time I'm meeting you, but I guarantee you've probably had some skill training all your life with baseball.
That is a perfect segue to actually rope DJ in it. So DJ, as a young baseball player today. I was fortunate to speak with you last week, and you said something very interesting about the difference between baseball players who grow up in the inner city and baseball players who grow up in other areas who might have more ready access to equipment, to training, to it being ingrained in their structure. Could you speak on your experience as a young baseball player and your points of struggle and also your points of improvement?
Yeah, definitely. Well, see, growing up, I grew up in Garfield Heights and South Euclid. Then I moved out to Twinsburg, where baseball is a lot more common in the athletes out here. So, they have a lot more access to certain things. But when I moved out here, I was, below the skill level. My skill level wasn't quite at theirs yet. And really, it was just, the access to the facilities and the equipment, stuff like that. And really, that's when I met Coach Morrison, and he coached me up to the point where I was able to really play with those guys. And I was really able to be at the top of the line with those guys. And I definitely think that plays a big factor in the inner city kids, not being, as skilled as, they could be. Really, it's just the access to the equipment, the facilities, and a lot of guys out here, their fathers, they play baseball, they play at a high level. It's in their blood. They from the time that they were 2, they put a bat in their hands. In the inner city, you really aren't going to get that until 6, 7, maybe even a little bit after that. So it's all about timing and when the guys really first started experiencing playing baseball. They have travel teams out here for 9U and 8U. You're not really going to see that in the inner city. You're going to see those rec leagues. You're going to see the rec leagues. You're going to see the street teams, stuff like that. But you won't see the travel teams going, Indiana, Kentucky, going to different places, playing against high level competition at 8 years old. You're not going to see that in the inner city. And I think that's really what has to change a lot more over the next couple of years, really just trying to even out the competition level.
Mm-hmm. And, if I can just butt in real quick, and that just shows you the comparity of when we grew up as opposed to what's going on now. Because when we grew up, 8, 9, 10 was we did have a travel team. We did go to Mayfield, to Garfield, to Puritas, to Brunswick. 11 and 12 had a travel league. We won the whole city championship at 12 years old. I got the trophy still right here because we traveled, but it was the end of the season travel. It wasn't like a scheduled travel. It was, hey, you guys were the best of a team. Now we're going to form an all-star team. But we still were able to go to those different communities and play and experience that upper class baseball. And when the gap hit and it kind of broke down, I think that kind of took a way back seat. Let's just get them back playing. I play from division to division. There's several divisions that are in Cleveland, like the Woodhill division, RBI. So I have played several games. We've gotten together, but it hasn't been citywide. And I think that's what you pointed out is that, nowadays we don't have those, 8U teams to travel and 9U, if we're lucky, we have 15, 16, if we find somebody like that. So that's part of what we have to do as a group and come together. So Chris, for one, thank you for bringing us all together on this. This is something that needs to be done, and we need to continue to, connect with each other and make this whole process work.
And I want to piggyback off that too. We at Inner City, that's what we're trying to provide. In Cleveland, we had camps in Warrensville and East Cleveland, Richmond Heights. We want to help people like Wendell. Wendell has coaches. I've played at a D1, college ball. Didn't make it to pro level, but I know some guys who have, and they helped me out too. But we want to help those fathers to learn the proper techniques so we don't have to be there. We can come in, we give clinics, we help those guys. This is the proper way to do this. This is what you want to be doing. This is the new thing. Some people don't like the new things, but we try to keep it fresh, So the fathers can learn, they can pass it on. We also help the players. You know, we have the ways of finding them colleges. We've done that in the past. The videos they need to be put out to reach those schools, like my alma mater's Grambling State University, to reach Grambling State coach, to reach Southern coach, the Jackson States. We have those means of doing that. We also want to help with equipment. You know, a kid gets a glove, but sometimes he gets that plastic baseball glove. Well, you're not going to feel good with that. You know,
Right.
So we know the gloves that you need, you know, the 11 and a half glove that you need to play in the infield, the 12 that you need to play in the outfield, or the 13. You don't want a kid to be playing second base with a glove that's 13, you know, that's a 13-inch glove. So those are the things that we want to bring to the table to help these kids get better, and just to help the whole of the fathers, the communities, and take some of the, you know, Wendell has a hard job running a league. We don't want to run a league. We know how tough that is, but we want to help. We want to help the leagues, and we want to help the fathers that want to be there. But they also, the ultimate thing is to help the kid get better. And we do that by helping each other, because some fathers, they want to be there, but they just don't know how to run a practice. When we come in, we give you the paperwork. We show you how to run a proficient practice. And that way, it's not hard for you anymore. And you can always call us and say, hey, this would happen in practice. I had a kid over here, you know, with some dandelions or something, you know, playing with dandelions. Say, okay, this is what you do to fix that. You know what I mean? So that's what Inner City is trying to help, to bridge that gap.
Right. You know, Chris, Marcus, and Mr. Fields and DJ all touched on one thing. They all said one thing. And your original question was, why isn't baseball being played in the inner city, in the Black community? And they always mention fathers. Fathers, what you're excited about as a father, you pass on to your young child, no matter what it is. If you're a Browns fan, your son or daughter more than likely is going to be a Browns fan. You know, if you like baseball, you're going to pass that down to your child, and you want to see your child have some type of success like you probably had when you were a kid, when you played. So my father's from the islands. He didn't play baseball. He played cricket. Same type of thing. So he passed that. He passed that on to me. And you know, these guys, Mr. Fields and Marcus, are from the south side of town. I grew up on the North Collinwood, and that was Ferguson Park. So we played any bounce. All you need is a tennis ball and some kind of stick. That's it. You know, and a wall if you don't have a catcher. And then from there, we would go, if you were good enough and you thought you were good enough, then you would go down to Ferguson Park and you would sign up for Cleveland and play down there. And then hopefully, you know, one of the perks to going to play for Ferguson was you got to go to the Indians game. And when you went to the Indians game back in the old days, now I'm showing my age here, they would have bat day. And man, bat day was the best day in Cleveland, because you would go down there and you would get a bat. You would take everyone that you could to get bats. And when you come back home, you can play any bounce with a real major league bat. And man, you would have that bat forever. It was the best thing. Wow. But at the end of the day, fathers are passing this stuff down, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, hockey, golf. They pass that stuff down to their kids, and we're not seeing a lot of that. I sit here on 66 in Lexington, and I can see for a country mile, there are no kids around playing anything.
No.
I mean,
and you got that beautiful right here. Field.
Yeah, much less right here at League Park, but usually they're in the streets playing any bouncing. You know, you're driving up and down the street, you got to avoid kids. You don't see that anymore. You may see it. If you do see it, you see a basketball hoop in the street and kids playing basketball, but you don't see them playing baseball. And that's unfortunate. And that's what all of us are here. We just want the kids to play the game.
Right. Yeah. Right. Hey, Dave, you know, I broke many of those bats because they weren't the best quality wood. So when we took them to our
and you taped them up too.
Right. It snapped in half.
The worst is when you got a chip in a bat. When you chip the bat, that was worse.
Oh, we put nails in bats and then taped it up to make it work. So
this is a whole world here. In this world, Let's talk about some of the things that transcend baseball that you've learned through it. In being fortunate to speak with both Mr. Fields and Mr. Morrison and Mr. Ramnarine and DJ, I learned that baseball is a thinking man's game, and that it takes certain skills and awareness to properly play the game, and those skills transcend to other areas of life, which I think, with baseball's origin in the Black community, I think that it helped the Black community even beyond the game. So if we could speak about that very quickly, then I have a couple questions for DJ.
Let me start with this one.
Let me you go ahead.
All I wanted to say was that, this is a game of failure, as Marcus said earlier. If you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. Right. You're in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. 7 out of 10 times you fail. And a lot of times our children can't get that in their head. You mean I only got a 30% on this test and I'm a Hall of Famer? It doesn't make sense. But that just shows you how hard this game is. It is a very hard game. To hit this ball that's coming at you at this speed, to have courage, to have hand-eye coordination, and then, you don't have proper technique on top of that, or you're going to fail. But if you hit it 2 or 3 out of 10 times, you're doing well. That's hard for some of our kids to get a hold of. And unlike basketball, if it goes in a hoop or it doesn't go in a hoop, it's failure. If you score a touchdown or you don't score a touchdown, it's a different animal. And what you were saying, it's a thinking man's sport where you have to think 5-6 moves ahead of the game, and you have to know what everyone is doing on the field, not only your players, but the other team's players. Over to you, Mr.
Right. Yeah. Dave, that you hit the nail on the head. I remember as a 9-year-old walking out to the baseball diamond for the first time, and I was put at shortstop, and I had to learn the game. And in shortstop, you really know what everybody's doing. You're like the general out there. If you really control the game, you can look around, you kind of see everything. And visually in my head, I would always think ahead of what's about to happen. Man's on first, 1 out. I know if he hits me the ball, I'm either tagging second, throwing it to first, or flipping it to my second baseman and going to first. And I think about it before it happens. Sometimes it would actually happen just like I thought about it. Sometimes it wouldn't, but I would always know what to do. And Dave, you said it best. Everybody, when the ball is hit, the challenge that I run into with my players, if the ball's not hit to them, they don't move. Or they're moving from third base and the ball's hit all the way over to first base and they're running clear across the diamond because they just want the ball. So they don't understand the concept of playing your position. But when you talk about how it transitions to life now, I do that on a daily basis. Things that I am going through or things that I have planned. I'm a sales rep for a company. I pre-think things that are happening just like I did when I was playing baseball. I think about the good that could happen. I think about the bad that could happen, and I try to fit it in. And those are the things that I gained from baseball, getting along with my coworkers. I don't have to like all my coworkers. I don't have to like all my teammates, but I have to play with them in order to win. Same thing with work. I have to be disciplined. I have to have responsibility. I got to show up to work on time. I got to play my position. I can't argue with my boss because I don't like something he did. So it's the game in life. They connect so much. And I think that's what kind of built all of our generation that played to give us the foundation that we have today. And it's lacking, unfortunately, from our generation, and we can get that back to them. And knowing that, like you said, Dave, you fail. You're going to fail more than you succeed in baseball. You hit the ball 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. Kids don't understand that. Kids don't grasp that knowledge. And how could that be possible? Or they think it's boring. And because there's not a lot of excitement in basketball and football, there's always hitting and running up and down the court. But baseball, you kind of stand around for a while. And you got to know, and you got to think what's going on. What's he doing? Why is he pitching like that? So I encourage my kids to watch baseball games and write down questions. Why is he doing that? Why did this happen? What did that? And then bring them to us, and we can work through them and talk to them about it. So
it's amazing.
My biggest thing is patience. That's what it taught me. Being a pitcher, I had to take my time. I figured out that if, nothing can happen until I throw that ball. Nothing can happen on the field until I throw the ball. I can step off. I can sit there and let the batter just look at me, and then he has to do what he wants to do, call timeout. And that's the biggest thing with our kids right now. I see a lot of kids, they don't have patience. They want things to happen right then and there. They want it right now. And in real life, it just doesn't happen that way. I equated it to when you're standing in line at the grocery store and that person in front of you has like 5 items, but then they're going to write a check. And you're like, who writes checks nowadays? Like, come on, I got to go. But you sit there and you take that deep breath and you're like, okay, I'm going to get out of here soon. It's just a matter of time, You just got to have patience, and that's what that was my biggest thing with baseball. You other guys hit everything on the head, but patience is a huge thing for me.
It's amazing. DJ, real quick question for you. We're nearing home, actually, so I'm going to try to squeeze 2 more questions in. So, DJ, you have a life before you took baseball kind of seriously, and once baseball became like a real thing. Could you talk a little bit about what that switch looks like, and also what the future looks like for you now that you graduated? What is next for you?
So really the switch really happened once I made the move out to Twinsburg from South Euclid. And I saw the competition, and I really just did not want to give up on this sport. I said, I'm gonna train a lot harder than anybody else around me, and I'm gonna catch up to them. And I'm gonna pass them. And that's where Coach Morrison came into play, and he got me to that point. Really, he really got me to the point of, I can hang with these guys. So it was really that cut of, probably 4th to 5th grade, really just starting to notice the competition was really, they were there already. And we were, 11 years old. And really next season, I'll be heading down to Georgia to play at a postgraduate program. So it's really like a fifth year of high school, really just trying to, pass that competition a lot more. Before heading into college, I'm really just trying to perfect my craft as much as I can. You can't really perfect the game of baseball, like they said, it's a game of failure, but you can perfect your skills, and you can perfect your mechanics. It's always something that you can get better at. And that's what I'm going down there to really do. And, down south, we practice 6 days a week. We play junior college programs and D3 programs. So I'll be getting college games in without, using the year eligibility. So and I'll also be taking classes here at Stark State. So I'll still be getting my education in as well.
Good for you.
So it's the best route. It's the best route for me.
Man, congratulations. That's a beautiful journey. So last question for everyone around. If someone wanted to get involved with either the Inner City Baseball Academy of Greater Cleveland or Bbuzz, how could they reach you or get involved with these organizations?
Hey, you want to take that one?
Yeah, well, I'll go first because actually we got games today. We have 2 more weeks of games left, and then we go into our award ceremony. But every April, Bbuzz website is bbuzzbaseball.org, just like it sounds. bbuzzbaseball.org. You can go now and register for the 2022 season. You don't have to pay a dime right now. Because part of the, us being sponsored by Play Ball CLE is on this side, rather, they gave us a lot of financing. And so we were able to subsidize a lot of parents' costs, uniform costs, and everything this year. So we're hoping that comes through again next year. And so for right now, we just want to get numbers. We want to see how many people are back interested to sign up. We're going to put street signs throughout the city as we did and continue to grow because, you know, coming from COVID, 2019, we only had probably 60 kids. Then COVID hit. So we were very, very worried about how many kids were going to show up, how this was going to all work, because we weren't allowed to go into schools like we normally do. Well, lo and behold, the street signs up in Warrensville, up at Bruce Park, landed 122 kids. So this season has been a challenge for me. Marcus, I know you mentioned earlier you didn't want to be a commissioner, and believe me, it's been a challenge, but it's been a good challenge. I mean, it really has tested me as a person, as far as being organized, making sure everything is in proper order with the players, the kids, the uniforms, everything, the umpires. I mean, concession. There's just so much every day that I'm doing, but it all is a joy for me. So we are hoping that everybody comes out. You know, we want every person to tell somebody this year. That would put us at 200 people. I think if we get 200, that probably would be my limit to be able to handle personally. But either way, we'll make it work no matter what. So please go to bbuzzbaseball.org, or you can call my number 216-712-2721.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
All right. And for us, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You can go to our website, innercitybaseball.com. You can email us at ibagc42 at Gmail. You can call my number, 216-269-4179. We're all over social media for Inner City. So we look forward to helping out in any way that we can. Our ultimate goal is to get kids to play. If you need training, that's what whether it be coaching, train coaches, train kids, train umpires. Both Marcus and I have been certified umpires here in the state of Ohio. So we do that as well. So like I said, ibagc42 at gmail.com or Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, we get right back at you. So
okay. And Marcus, I have two players in my older division that I know could gain a lot from you. They're at that stage where they need to be trained to move up. I'm gonna get with their parents today and get them to you.
I usually start up with that indoor training in September. So
okay,
you know, if you parents want to come at us, we will hit a cap if we get too many, because we just want to make sure that we're giving that individualized instruction. So yeah, definitely get at us. We're ready to go.
Okay.
All right. It's already happening. And for more information on this topic, please tune in to our Turning Point episode, which will be Thursday at 7 p.m. during the 7 p.m. hour, to hear more about baseball in the Black community. DJ, Mr. Fields, Mr. Morrison, Mr. Ramnarine, thank you so much. I really appreciate this time that you took with me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the platform.
Appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Yeah.
Take care.